Hello everyone, happy Friday. Welcome to Hair Color Magic's takeover of Loopy Voss's page. My name is Maureen Bangle. I'll be walking you through some block color today. Hope you're very excited to get into block color techniques again. I think so many times we in the salon are doing a lot of the same thing, right? So this is a great opportunity to expand on what you're doing and keep you engaged and keep your guests with fresh looks. So, like I said, my name is Maureen Bangle. If you'd like to follow me on my Instagram, my professional Instagram is behind me. And while everybody's logging on, if you could do me a favor and drop in the comments below where you are watching from. It's always fun to see where everybody is coming from. Let's see. We're going to do a mission activity today to open up, and I am going to have you all, after you've put in the comments where you are from, I'm going to go ahead and have you drop in the comments below your favorite word or a word that sticks out to you today from the Aveda mission. So I'm going to go first. My word for today is going to be care, because that has been my mantra for the last couple of weeks. Is making sure that I care for people that are important to me, whatever that looks like. If it means reaching out and connecting with someone, if it means seeing if somebody needs any help, always willing to answer any questions. So if you have any, please feel free to reach out. And like you said, just make sure people are feeling like they are loved, and we care for them, because right now it's a tough time. So that is my word. But like I said, please drop your favorite mission word in the comments below, because I'd love to read them later. Other than that, do we have some people on? Mm-hmm. All right, so my cameraman. All right, so let me hear some of the words that you guys posted.
Leadership's coming up a lot. Care.
Leadership.
Responsibility.
So leadership, care, responsibility, those are all really, really good ones. And like you said, that world is a great one, right? I think Mother Earth is definitely getting some nice deep breaths right now while we're all staying at home and just being calming everything down, slowing down. So let's get into some block color. How many of you behind the chair get a little bit bored with some of the techniques that you do on your guests? Tell me some of the techniques that you do on a regular basis. Is it all over color? Is it balayage, hair painting? Is it highlights? Is it foil techniques, foliage, singles, tipping? What do you typically do behind the chair? I would say for us here, we're in the Midwest. We're outside of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We do a lot of all over color and a lot of foil work. There's some foliage and stuff too, hair painting and balayage, but we've gotten away from some of the block color. So I want to give you some inspiration when guests come back into the salon, some options for them and for you to give them a fun transition and fun look that maybe they haven't had for the last couple months. So it's going to be springtime. People are going to be looking for different things to do. So it'll be a great technique that'll give you some quick dimension and contrast. So where we're getting this information from is the Hair Color Magic Dreaming in Demi class. So it's being revamped. We're changing up some things for 2021. And so I really want to make sure that you know where this technique lives. And we have some other great classes too that are brand new this year, but today's technique is going to come from Dreaming in Demi. If you want any more information on Hair Color Magic, please make sure to check out our Instagram page at Hair Color Magic or our website, haircolormagic.net. So off we go. Today, like I said, we're talking about block color. We are going to use everyday shapes that you recognize that are easy to pick out, and we're going to use them to place color differently on the head. So like I said, just easy peasy shapes. How many of you recognize these shapes? What do we recognize these shapes as? Letters, right? But they're great options for shapes when you're parting off sections on the head. We can also use shapes like numbers, right? Shapes, letters, numbers, and things like hearts, a star, a circle, triangle. Actually, these are great options for you. I take these in when I do Dreaming in Demi classes. Shapes that are cut out of felt, or letters or numbers, to give people something tangible to place on the head as well. So if you have some extra fabric laying around or paper, you want to cut out some shapes, use those as some inspiration for you today. But all those are recognizable, right? Our alphabet and shapes. So pretty simple concept, but we're going to take it to a new level with block color. So here are our objectives for today, or what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about color choice. How do you choose what colors to use when you're doing block color? We'll talk about that. How about formula? What formulas could you use? Placement. Where are we going to place those familiar shapes on the head? And last but not least, a little technique to make sure that your block color is nice and blended. Are you all ready to learn some block color? Drop me some hearts. I'm excited about this one. This should be fun. So the first thing we're going to talk about is color choice. I think one of the things that's a little bit intimidating is, what color do I pick? What do I want to do? How do I take this guess all over color to the next level? Here are some quick ideas for you as well. So the first one is monochromatic, right? So monochromatic is taking a tone or a color, let's say orange, and I'm going to use maybe orange tone throughout all of my color formulations, but maybe I'm going to do a different levels for 3 of those formulas. So maybe I'll do a level 6, 8, and a 10. Maybe I'll do a 4, 6, and an 8. But they'll all have that orange tone in them, but changing up the levels. Another way to do that is actually with saturation of tone. So maybe I'll do a soft formula on one, a standard formula for another, and maybe a strong or even intense version of that formula to give me that same monochromatic look, but different levels of saturation of that tone. So that's a great one. That's really fun to do. It's really beautiful too. It's really salon friendly, which I really love. Next, complementary. So complementary tones, we all know, right, live on opposite sides of the color wheel. So let's take violet and yellow. So violet and yellow are complementary. They look very pretty together. They neutralize each other if you mixed them together in the same formulation. But first, let's take somebody like a blonde, right? Let's take a blonde who maybe has lost dimension. She's a highlighted guest. Maybe if we put pieces of violet and yellow in some version or another, maybe it's violet blue and yellow orange. There's another version for you. But we're creating complementary colors and using them together to create some dimension and contrast, right? So that example of blondes is great if you're doing, like I said, highlighting sometimes. You can do that in foil. It's going to create a little bit of shimmer for you, a shimmer effect on a highlighted guest. If you did more of a gloss and didn't take little pieces, you took bigger sections, that would create more contrast for you. So 2 colors are always going to give you the most contrast, right? But complementary color choice, opposite sides of the color wheel. So you'll see too, just so everybody, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, I'll post all of these flip charts on my Instagram page. But I did just a simple color wheel with the primary and secondary colors, and then on the outside I did some of our tertiary. So just so you can see that as well, lots of options. Next is analogous. So analogous is colors that are adjacent to one another on the color wheel. So in this case, maybe a red, orange, and an orange. This particular color choice is a wonderful one for salon-friendly looks because analogous color combinations are found in nature. So they're very pleasing to the eye, right? They're really pleasing to the eye and really, really beautiful color choices. That is what we use today. Both of our mannequins that we're going to do today, we chose analogous, but on different sides of the color wheel. So it'll be fun to see that. And last but not least, I wanted to just pinpoint on Triatic. Since this is Hair Color Magic, Triatic, we're going to go with the Hair Color Magic Triatic Colors. Triatic colors are equally spaced on the color wheel. And Triatic, how many do you think there are? Try 3, right? So 3 colors spaced evenly on the color wheel. What are our Hair Color Magic Triatic colors? Blue, red, right? And yellow. So Triatic colors, it can be very fashion forward when you're doing Triatic colors. It can also be very beautiful and more salon friendly as well. The tip I would say here is I wouldn't use these necessarily in equal proportions. So I would choose one as a dominant and the other 2 as accent colors. So it doesn't look, it doesn't look like rainbow hair. If you're going for rainbow hair or unicorn hair, that's great. But if you're looking for something a little bit more salon friendly, I would say use one as your dominant tone and the other 2 as your accent color. So keep in mind what those were, because at the end we're going to recap and I'm going to ask you what color choice you are looking forward to doing in the salon first. So we're going to pause for just a second. Any questions so far on what we've done? What we've gone over? Nope, everybody's good so far? All right.
You're showing their color love.
Showing their color love. All right, show me your favorite color. Show me your favorite. We have so many different colored hearts now, right? And in our emojis, which is super fun. So, all right. So next we're going to go to the formulas that I used today. So remember I used analogous color choices. So I did red, red-orange or orange-red, and orange-yellow. So for my mannequin, I did my first formula. My first formula is going to be we're doing this today. I didn't put any developers down because this today we're doing on as a virgin application. So we would adjust developer choices for scalp and mid-lengths and ends, but it's going to be based on our guest in the salon. So my first formula is going to be my underneath. It's my primary color, I should say, or my most dominant color in my placement. So I did 40 grams of 6N from Full Spectrum Permanent, and then I did 2 grams of dark red from Full Spectrum Deep. My second formula, this is going to be my first of 2 mid-length and end formulas. My second formula is 40 grams of 8N from Full Spectrum Permanent, 3 grams of light orange red from Full Spectrum Permanent, and 3 grams of orange pure pigment. So this one I wanted to make sure was more on the orange side. And my third and final formula is going to be 40 grams of 10N from Full Spectrum Permanent and 2 grams of light orange yellow from Full Spectrum Deep. So, are you guys excited to see the placement that we are going to do for this one? It's a lot of fun. So, guess what my letter was? I chose a letter versus a shape, a traditional shape. I chose a T, the letter T, as my personal shape that I chose today. So I chose to take this letter and place it with the top of the T closest to the front hairline. I am going to give you a couple numbers, and I'm going to step out of the way for just a second afterwards for you to screenshot it. So just give me a second. So I took my letter T, I placed it about a ½ inch behind the hairline, the front hairline, and I am going to assume that my guest has a middle parting, right? So I placed the trunk of the T with her parting right in the center. From the front, you can see it goes, the top of the T goes from about the outside of her eyebrows or round of the head. That's another good indicator of how far that's going to go. And you can see the trunk of the T going along the top of her head. Now, I did something a little bit different. I did a little adaptation because this guest has a fringe, and she also has hair, longer layers in the back. So I wanted to make sure that my color, my block color, just doesn't end at the top of her head, right? I didn't want it to just stop. So I actually added on to my T shape. I created this little, I guess almost inverted triangle, triangle, I guess you could say. And I am going to go ahead and pivot pie-shaped sections, and I'll show you how and why in just a few minutes. But that's what I am going to do with my crown section so that I can create color, not just stopping at the top of her head, so that it flows nicely and beautifully over the back of her hair. So I'm going to let Vanessa come in, give you guys a few seconds to screenshot those formulas, or excuse me, the placements, and I'll be right back. All right, so those are our partings. Remember, taking just that T shape and placing it on the head along the front hairline about a ½ inch back. The trunk of the T going along her part line. And then, like I said, I'm going to do a little bit of an adaptation in her crown so that she doesn't end up with color just stopping. I'm going to demo this in just a second, but before we do a demo, last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about application. So on the application, we are going to do Formula 1 is going to go everywhere below or outside of that T parting. That's going to be Formula 1. Formula 1 is also going to be at our new growth color in the trunk of the T and the cross section of the T. And then we're going to use formulas 2 and 3 to do mid-lengths and ends, right? So, first one, we're going to do in this T, trunk of the T section, that mohawk shaped section along the top of her head and along her part, we are going to do this application. I know it looks a little bit weird, so just hang with me for just a second. That new growth formula, that 6 red, is going to go 1 inch from the scalp. The next subsection, I'm going to pull that out 2 inches. The third subsection, I'm going to pull that new growth formula out 3 inches. Then instead of starting over at 1, this is really important. And again, I'll let you screenshot this in just a second. But that fourth section is not going to go back to 1. We're actually going to go down to 2. So 1 inch from the scalp, 2 inches from the scalp, 3 inches, 2 inches, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. So this is application on the strand, which, like I said, we're going to demo for you. But I want to show you before I demo it why it's important. Why is it going to make a difference when we do in our end result, right? So anybody else have a pet peeve of when somebody leaves a salon with a shadow root and you see them walking out and you think, are you coming in or are you coming out, right? So I don't like my aesthetic. I don't like when someone has a shadow root that looks like new growth, right? So this application actually helps us give some variation to that new growth or shadowed root area so that it looks more natural and more pleasing to the eye. So if we take this application and this hair, now we're going to see this is the application. Now we're going to see how it's actually going to come out in our final result. So the hair is going to fall down in natural fall. So this is going to be my 1-inch application. This one is going to be 2 inches. My next subsection, that hair is going to fall down, and that new growth area that I applied 3 inches out from the scalp is going to come down a little bit further. Then 2, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 2. So what we get is this almost heartbeat type look to it when it falls in natural fall, when we're all finished. You always want to make sure that you're doing your subsections, you're parting your subsections the way the hair is going to fall. So you can see in this mohawk section, it's vertical from the side, right? If you're standing on the side of her, they're vertical partings. If you were standing behind her, they'd be horizontal, but you always want to make sure you're parting in the same direction that that hair is falling. So if she had a fringe like our guest has today, my partings for the T, the cross section of the T that goes along that front hairline, now I'm changing the direction of my subsectioning because I want in her fringe, I want that hair, I want to see that heartbeat shape again falling forward. If I didn't do that, I'm going to end up with, let's say I did my partings, oops, my black marker here. Let's say I did my partings horizontally if I was standing on the side of her. If I do that, what happens when it falls in natural fall? The work that I did on this first subsection actually ends up being covered up by the work that I do in the next section, and so on. So you want to make sure you're always parting in the same direction, your subsections, as that hair is going to fall. So this one we're going to say no, we don't want to do that one. The other section, the last section that I did is an adaptation for this look, this T, is in her crown. So the reason I did pie-shaped sections is we're working on that round surface in her crown. And the same thing, let's say I'm going to do a section that's a little shorter, then medium, then long, then medium, then long, then medium, then short. So you get this, like I said, this heartbeat type shape so that it doesn't end up with a strong line in the crown, in the fringe, or on the sides. It's kind of a different concept, but how are you guys feeling about that? Any questions so far? Or are you ready to see it done? Anything? Thumbs up? Everybody good? Okay. So I'm just going to step off a camera for just a second because I have my mannequin and tray over here. So for this application, here's my lovely mannequin. This is Erica. This is Erica. Here's my parted mannequin, and I'm going to show you my setup here in just a second. So first of all, this is my mannequin with her partings, right? So that T is right on top. That trunk of the T is here. The cross section of the T is here along her fringe, about a 1/2 inch. This is, if you're not from knuckle to knuckle, that's about 1 inch if you're always guessing. About a 1/2 inch back from her front hairline. And then, like I said, that kind of section in through the back to make sure that I can have enough space to do this technique in.
And just to confirm, in the crown, it's vertical.
In the crown, it's actually, I I wouldn't, yes,
Versus
vertical versus horizontal, but I would say kind of take almost pie-shaped sections. So you make sure, because you have that round of the head, just make sure you take more pie-shaped sections, but yes, vertical versus horizontal. Okay, if you do horizontal through the crown, you'll get this effect. It'll just kind of disappear and won't be as beautiful. So like I said, what we did on Erica here, I've already pre-done some so I can get through some of it with you. Formula 1 is that 6 red, red all through the underneath and through both of the sides. I have done that, and I've gone ahead and foiled that hair out of the way so that I don't have to, it's not in my way, I'm not going to get it on my hands. Through the crown, like I said, pie-shaped sections through that crown area. So this way, following, actually, what I do is I follow these partings and just kind of smaller, a little bit skinnier at the top and wider, like I said, pie sections through the crown. I've already done that on Erica. And now I'm going to work through the trunk of that T. The trunk of that T. So that's what I'm going to demo for you guys. I have already done the new growth. So I just did about a half an inch so far. And I'm going to bring her back here. Hang on one second. I'm going to tilt her back. Maybe, maybe not, maybe not. Erica doesn't want to tilt. Oh, there we go.
How low do you recommend going for the crown?
So the question was, how low do you take your parting in through the crown? I would say I always work on rounds of the head. So I use the round of the head to create my section from front to back, as well as where that comb hits, where it rocks for that round of the head. Okay, so like I said, I've already done her T section. So this is her mohawk section here. Vanessa's going to come around over my left shoulder so she can see what I'm doing. And you can see what, like I said, we've already done the new growth here to make sure that we have enough time to show you this technique. So remember, when I go through these sections, I'm going to work horizontally towards her front hairline. I'm going to work this way. I'm sorry, I have marker on my hand from this morning. I was finishing up some flip charts. And I'm going to I like to take about half-inch sections. So again, if this is an inch from that knuckle to that knuckle, I like to be about half-inch sections. I am going to take my first section. This is a great tip if you're using your tail comb for this. Do not go right. Do you see where my comb is going to scrape along that scalp there? We don't want to do that. We want to take hair above that color. And the reason is we want to make sure that we don't wipe or scrape color off of her new growth. So what is my pattern again that I'm going to do? How many inches? I'm going to start out with 1. So I'll grab a foil. I'm going to go in with my new growth color. And you can see there's my new growth right now. So I'm going to extend that out a little bit. I'm going to then take Formula 2. And I'm first going to saturate Formula 2 on her mid-lengths and ends. And you really want to make sure you're saturating this really well. If you need a tip for that, you can always take your brush and roll that color back and forth. And then at that spot where we have a little bit of a gap where that color meets, Formula 2 meets Formula 1, I'm going to take my brush horizontally, or vertically, whichever way you look at it. I would say perpendicular to the hair strand. and roll that back and forth. So now, second foil goes right on top. I'm going to take my next section, remembering not to go into that color. So those part lines might not be entirely perfect, but that's okay because it'll give us more of an organic look when we are all finished. So grab a little bit more of my new growth color. And if that was kind of medium, let's say 2 inches on the first section, this one I'm going to pull out a little bit further. And those numbers that 2 inch, 3 inch are just 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch are just guidelines. So make sure the only thing I would say really be careful of is making sure that they're not the same. As we move up the head, like I said, the curvature of that head changes, right? So it may seem like we're doing enough, but if you pulled it to the side, it would look like, oh, they're kind of equal. So the biggest tip that I've learned from doing that is making sure that there is a good amount of difference between your 3 sections. So like you said, make sure it's not this and then this. Make sure it's 1 inch and then maybe 2 or 2.5. Those are just guidelines for you. So our next section, so now I did 2 inches, 3 inches. So what's this one? I don't go to 1, I go back to 2. So making sure that's nice and saturated. And then formula 2 comes back out. And in this case, for us, we did 40 grams of 8N for formula 2 with 3 grams of orange red and 3 grams of orange pure pigment. And roll that hair back and forth, making sure it's nice and saturated, and then coming back in and blending that area where the 2 meet. Foil goes on top. So now I did 2, 3, 2. What comes next? This one is going to be 1. So this is going to come out the least. So usually I use my foil edge as a guide, and I just go a little bit past the edge of that foil. And formula 3 comes out for this one. So like you said, all I'm doing is taking into that mohawk section, I am working from back to front, from her crown to her face, taking 1/2 inch subsections, and working formula 1 at the new growth at different lengths, pulling it out at different variances, right? So about 1 inch, about 2, and then about 3. So my pattern again is 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches. Then I go back to 2. So it's kind of like a staircase, right? So, or a mountain. We go 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1.
We have a couple questions.
Yes, so let's ask some questions.
Okay. Do you use a separate brush for blending?
I do not. I actually just blend you definitely can. What I like to do is just take, right now I would say, let me rephrase that. I would say it depends on what you're doing. So if I was using enlightener here on my mid-length and end formula, I would for sure want to use a separate blending brush. For this one, I'm making sure that I'm coming in and just touching the formula 1 with just that tip of my brush and just blending it together to make sure that they marry well together. You can definitely, my brushes sit on the edge of the bowl to make sure they're not getting into the rest of it. They're messy right now, I apologize. And let's see, this one's going to be a 3. That last one was a 2. Any other questions?
Yes. My question would be, what if she had color that was darker and color doesn't lift color? Would you do a color cleanse first?
It depends on what you're trying to achieve, what your final end result would be. A great option would be maybe a polishing formula that we talked about the other day. In actually our Aveda Blonde toolbox, we talked about that. A polishing formula can either be intense base or extra lifting cream, or mixed together with 20 or 30 volume. And what that'll do is it'll polish off some of that color on the mid-lengths and ends. So it's a great option to use on somebody if you, like you said, you do their new growth, whatever that formula normally is, and then through their mid-lengths and ends, one of their formulas could be a polishing formula. Just to give you a little bit of glow, I would say.
And then do you know by chance, somebody missed a class earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where these are located?
So there are classes. That one is located on the North America Artistic Team Instagram page for the polishing formulas. That one's called Aveda Blonde Toolbox. We also talk about polishing formulas in Hair Color Magic 2. So that's where it originated from. But we talk about it in Hair Color Magic 2. The video from the other day, though, like I said, is on North America Artistic page. North America Artistic Team. It also lives on my YouTube channel. So if you want to check that out, if you can't find the live on North America Artistic Team, you can also go there. All right, any other questions?
So the root color distance is changing in each section. But
Each
are the
section.
mid-lengths and ends only alternating the 2 and 3 colors?
So today
Not the
I decided to do just the mid-length and end, just the 2 mid-length and end formulas, because I wanted to give her something a little bit brighter for spring. But could you definitely pull one of those sections of color with, I probably wouldn't do her new growth formula necessarily. I would do, if it's an existing guest, I would do a gloss formula that matched her new growth. But yes, you could definitely pull that new growth color through for one of them.
And then I have a couple more questions.
Absolutely. So we're going to move to this cross of the T section. And I haven't done her new growth here. So I am going to go ahead, apply her new growth. Hang on 1 second. All right, that's better. So I am going to apply her new growth formula.
Out of your way there for a moment. So is there a reason why you were sandwiching the foils, or could you just paint on top of
You could paint on top of them. The reason I sandwiched them is because I actually like to use my hands to go ahead and support those foils, so that way I feel comfortable supporting, getting my hands in any of the color. So like I said, this is just this 1/2 inch new growth application.
And what foils are you using?
The question is, what foils am I using? I right now am using the Framar foils. I think they're the textured ones, but I think they're the medium density. I'd have to go look on the box, but I think those are the medium density. So now that we're in the cross section of this T, remember that she has a fringe, right? So this is going to fall forward. So that's why we're shifting our subsections to the perpendicular to the ones we just did back here. These we came up the Mohawk section. These we're going to go perpendicular to it. So we're going to come across this way. So for me, I like to, this first one, especially if this is her fringe, I like to bring this one out the furthest first, because that's going to be darkest along the edge of her fringe or the corner of her fringe. So I like to bring that one out a little bit further. And again, our formula 2 through her mid-lengths and ends, and just go ahead and just blend that area and sandwich my foil. I'm going to do a couple more here to give you an idea, and then we'll post the final photo of this mannequin later on with all the head sheets for you as well. But I want to get on to a couple other things to finish up. So,
can you repeat your YouTube channel name?
Yeah, actually it's just my name. So just Maureen Bangle, if you look that up. I try and keep my profile photo the same throughout all social media, so it's easy to find.
Yeah, that's you right here.
So, and I'm just going to do one more here. So that was 3, 2, so this is going to be a short one, or one that we don't pull out nearly as far. And like I said, roll that hair back and forth. Make sure it's nice and saturated. You guys thinking about who you're going to do this on in salon? What are some great clients to do this on? This is, to me, my favorite way to do block color, or one of my favorite ways to do block color, is to actually do it on guests that have all over color. Right? Give them a little bit of different toning. Give them a little bit of a different tone in their gloss, and pull through different tones on their mid-lengths and ends. That's a great way of doing it. Last but not least, I just want to show you guys this one. So that one was 3. We started out 3 inches, 2 inches, 1 inch. So this one's going to go back to 2 inches, right? So like I said, we're going to stop there because I want to get to a few more things before I let you guys go.
If they didn't have a fringe, would you still do the same?
Great question. So you are getting to exactly what I was going to talk about. So the question was, if they didn't have a fringe, would I continue to do the T section this way? No. I would actually keep doing the mohawk section so that when it laid off to the side, you would see that heartbeat shape when the hair was in natural fall.
What are you going to do with that?
Oh, thank you. So I'm going to continue working across the T this way. This section is just that section, that ½ inch that I've left out along the hairline. That is just going to be formula number 1. So my next question for you is, this particular guest, we left darker along her hairline. What are some options if your guest pulls her hair back all the time and she doesn't want to see as much dark around her face? What are some options we could do in that face framing section? What are some things you could do in that face framing section? Definitely some weaves. I would say highlighting, whether it's weaves or micro weaves, that's a great option to do your shape, but do the weaves around her face so when it goes back, she has a little bit of color that's broken up there. Like I said, if she didn't have a fringe, I would forgo the top or the cross section of the T. I would just work in that mohawk section all the way forward. Like you said, in the crown, you want to make sure, think about what you're doing in the crown. What do you want that to look like when it is all finished? Like I said, please just don't cut it off there. It's not the most pleasing to the eye, and I'm sure your guests wouldn't love that either. Let's see. If her hair was parted on the side, I'm just going to take let's see. I'm going to use O for now. But like I said, I took her shape and put it right in the center. If her part was on the side like mine is, I would just take that shape, shift it over. So make sure you're aware of your parts and where they are going to be. The great part about this is that if this guest, think about if we placed it down the middle, think about what we would get, right? So when her hair is parted down the middle, you get that beautiful color on both sides. If she parts it on one side or the other, she may cover up some of that color. It would be more of an asymmetrical look in terms of color. Just something different to think about, but always being aware of where your part line is and how she is going to wear it on a regular basis, right? Anytime, like I said, make sure your subsections are always placed how the hair falls. So remember with that fringe, that hair is going to fall down. You want to make sure your partings are vertical in through that section as well. In the crown, what kind of partings do we want in the crown? We have the round of that head. What are we going to place in the crown? I'm waiting for you. I'm waiting for you. Pie-shaped sections. We're going to do pie-shaped sections in through that section as well. Like I said, what else did I want to share with you guys? Oh, we're going to do what if we want, I know what it was. I can't believe I almost forgot this. What if we wanted to do not so salon friendly? What if we wanted to do more fun, more out there? Oops, let me grab this one too. So let's talk about a model that we did with vibrance. So this is Mimi. She is obviously a very disconnected haircut that we did. It was an inspiration from Hairbrained, a haircut on Hairbrained. And so what we did for Mimi was she was blonde, so we did vibrance on her, and we did literally the same placement that I did on Erica. I wanted to do the same placement so that you could see how it could look more fashion forward and how it could look more salon friendly. So I'm going to post pictures of Mimi and Erica, but here are Mimi's formulas. For her base formula, so at her new growth, I did 10 grams of cobalt, 10 grams of iris with 30 grams of clear. Tip for vibrance for all of you out there, if you're going to shear out your formulas, if you're going to add clear to your formulas, do me a favor and add clear first to your bowl and then add your vibrance. That way you won't get too tonal heavy, you won't get too much of that beautiful tone, and then you end up having to add tons of clear to shear it out or make it more pastel. So add clear first and then add your color or tones to it. Then on her second formula, for one of her mid-length and end formulas, I did iris, 10 grams of that with 20 grams of clear from Vibrance. And last but not least, formula number 3, 10 grams of raspberry, 2 grams of azalea, and 10 grams of clear. So here again, we did Analogous, which we used blue violet, violet, and violet red for those for Mimi's hair. So that was a fun one to do, and like you said, lots of fun to see those colors move throughout there. So great way to showcase block color, again, fashion forward versus salon friendly. So now I have homework for you, or a little bit of home play, I should say. In the comments, I would love for you to show me or comment below. Tell me what color combination are you most excited to use when you get back to the salon. Are you most excited to do the Complementary? Are you most excited to do Triatic? Are you most excited to do Monochromatic? Or are you most excited to try Analogous? Which one of those color combos are you super excited to try when you get back to the salon? Secondly, what shape do you think that you'll use a lot moving forward in the salon? What shape? It could be a letter, it could be an actual shape, maybe a number, but what shape are you most excited to use on a guest in salon? And last but not least, tell me, or at least write down their first name, comment their first name, name a guest that you're going to try this on. or ask about or suggest when you guys get back to the salon. So color combo, shape, and the guest you're going to use it on. What are you most excited to try out after seeing our block color placement today? I can't wait to hear your answers. And while I'm waiting for a couple of those to come in, I want to remind you that the Hair Color Magic team is taking over Loopy's Instagram page Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So the next team member that's up is Miss Haley Reed on Monday. And she's going to be here same time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. That means if you're on the West Coast, it's 1. If you're in like the Denver area, 2. Midwest Central Standard Time, 3 o'clock, and on the East Coast, 4 o'clock. So please join us on Monday. She's doing a triangle foil technique, which I'm super excited about. I'm super excited to see what she's going to teach us. She's great at hair color. I have amazing teammates. I'm so proud to be amongst them. And then Wednesday, same time, 3 o'clock Central Standard Time, my teammate Terry Vardy-Caslow is going to be back with more wellness, because we all know we need a little bit of wellness right now. So he'll be back with that on Wednesday. So that's what's coming up. If you need more Hair Color Magic information, haircolormagic.net is our website, or follow us on our Instagram page at Hair Color Magic. So I'm going to ask Vanessa now, did we get any answers for our color combo, our shape, and the guest name?
We did. I saw a lot of Analogous.
So a lot of Analogous.
Nice. I believe somebody.
Ooh, W. W's awesome. Super exciting to see that.
Yeah, Monochromatic. Yep.
Nice. So Monochromatic and Analogous are the two that are winning out so far. What I'd ask you to do, if you could, when you get back to salon, or if you're doing mannequins while you're at home, tag myself and Hair Color Magic in your photo, because I'd love to see the work that you're doing in salon or at home while we're here on break. So I'd love to see that. And we're just going to recap one more time. You ready? Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Oh, one more. All right, so color choice, formula, placement, and technique. We went over all 4 of those. Our color choice, remember monochromatic is just going to be one tone that we're either going to make different by level. And I would say 2 levels. A tip for that is 2 levels is good to make the separation different, to see the contrast, or by saturation of that tone. Next is complementary. So maybe I'll do a green blue and a red orange, right? Just to see what that looks like on somebody, but complementary across from the color wheel from each other. And that one, if you're using 2 colors, that's going to be the most dramatic. Remember that 2 colors is always going to be the most dramatic. Analogous is going to be adjacent to each other on the color wheel. So red, red, orange, orange is a great example, or blue, violet, 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 red, which we did on Mimi. And last but not least, triatic, blue, red, and yellow. Remember those, the tip with that one, choose one to be dominant and the other 2 to be your accent colors. That'll help a lot. Next, on my mannequin, again, short people problems today. My formula for my first mannequin, Erica, which you'll see the finished product of on Instagram, is going to be 40 grams of 6N in Full Spectrum Permanent, 2 grams of dark red from Full Spectrum Deep, 40 grams of 8N with orange red and orange pure pigment for the orange red part of that. And my third formula is 40 grams of 10N with 2 grams of light orange yellow. So I chose Analogous. I also chose the shape of a T, making sure the cross section of that T was along her fringe area, a 1/2 inch back from her hairline for this particular guest. The trunk of the T is going to go along her part. And in the crown, I'm going to do those pie-shaped sections to make sure that my application gives me that beautiful heartbeat shape that you're going to see in my final mannequin. It's going to be really beautiful. Like I said, check out my Instagram, my professional Instagram, for the final results. I think you'll really like them. But again, this is a great application to do for your guests that are all over one color, to help give them something new, something exciting, and get you engaged again with something new for hair color. So I'm excited for you guys to try some new color combos. I can't wait to see what you come up with. I hope that you do some great shapes. I can't wait to see what you do, what shapes you choose, and beautiful photos of your guests. I'm definitely looking forward to that. I hope you guys had fun today in another workshop. Thanks for joining us and the rest of the joining me and the rest of the Hair Color Magic team for more fun classes. We hope to see you soon.